My name is Olivia, and usually I'm the organized one. As a project manager for a downtown Chicago firm, my life runs on timelines, spreadsheets, and contingency plans, which is why the low grade, humming anxiety beneath the surface of my brother Noah's wedding day felt so out of place. Everything was meticulously planned, running smoothly, the venue booked, the flowers arranged, the caterer confirmed. Noah, my sweet, slightly naive younger brother, was ecstatically happy, about to marry the charming, seemingly perfect Sophia. My parents, Maria and David, were beaming. Even my husband of 10 years, Leo, seemed unusually cheerful this morning. So, why did I feel this persistent knot of unease tightening in my stomach? Maybe it was just pre wedding jitters by proxy. Maybe it was Leo's abrupt departure earlier that morning. He'd kissed me goodbye, already dressed in his suit, claiming an urgent client emergency across town that simply couldn't wait. "Don't worry, Liv," he'd said, his smile a little too quick, his eyes not quite meeting mine. "I'll meet you and your parents at the venue well before the ceremony starts. Promise." It felt off. Leo wasn't usually prone to last minute client crises, especially not on a Saturday morning, especially not this Saturday morning. But I pushed the thought away, chalking it up to my own tendency to overthink. Our apartment buzzed with the usual pre event chaos. Mom was arranging flowers she'd insisted on bringing herself. Dad was meticulously checking the driving directions to the suburban venue. And I was trying to finish my makeup while fielding texts from cousins asking about parking. Life felt stable, comfortable. 10 years with Leo had been steady, predictable. We had our routines, our shared jokes, our comfortable silences. He worked hard in medical sales, traveled occasionally, but always came home. We were happy, weren't we? Amidst reapplying my lipstick, I did a quick email check on my phone, mostly work notifications and spam. But one email stood out, flagged as important from an address I didn't recognize, a jumble of letters and numbers. The subject line was cryptic, almost alarming. Wedding day warning, read alone. My thumb hovered over it. Probably spam, a phishing attempt. But something made me click it open anyway, glancing around to make sure Mom wasn't looking over my shoulder. The message inside was brief, chilling, unsigned. "Things aren't what they seem. Don't let your brother make a mistake. Ask Leo about his storage garage unit on Elm Street. See for yourself before it's too late." Attached was a single photograph. It was slightly blurry, maybe taken from a distance or through a window, but clear enough to make my heart stop. It showed Leo, my husband, sitting at an outdoor cafe table, laughing, his arms slung comfortably, intimately, around the shoulders of Sophia, Noah's fiancée, the bride-to-be. They weren't just talking. They were looking at each other with an easy familiarity, a shared amusement that felt intensely private. Wrong. My breath hitched. My vision swam. Number it couldn't be. An old photo taken out of context? Photoshop? My mind scrambled for rational explanations, but the cold dread spreading through my chest dismissed them one by one. And the mention of the garage. Leo rented a small storage unit on Elm Street a few blocks away. He kept old hobby gear there, he'd said. Camping equipment, his dusty guitar amplifier from college, things that didn't fit in our condo. I'd only been there once, years ago, when he first rented it. Why would an anonymous email point me there? What could possibly be in a dusty storage unit? Unless unless it wasn't just storing old guitars. I immediately tried calling Leo. Straight to voicemail. "Hey, you've reached Leo. Leave a message after the beep, or try my work cell if it's urgent." I tried his work cell, also voicemail. Panic began to rise, cold and sharp. Suddenly, fragments of recent memories clicked into place with horrifying clarity. Leo's increased late nights working. His sudden business trips that yielded no specific details. His overly enthusiastic offers to help Sophia with wedding errands, often meeting her alone. His defensiveness when I once gently questioned why he and Sophia texted each other so frequently late at night. "Just logistics, Liv. Don't be paranoid." And Noah, my sweet brother Noah. A conversation from a few weeks ago flashed in my mind. I'd hesitantly mentioned to him that maybe, just maybe, Leo and Sophia seemed a little too friendly, a little too familiar. Noah had immediately jumped to their defense, laughing off my concern. Liv, you're totally imagining things, he'd said, rolling his eyes. Sophia loves me, and Leo's just being a super supportive future brother in law. He's helping her stay calm with all the wedding stress. Don't be weird about it. I'd felt foolish then, chastised, dropping the subject immediately, blaming my own anxiety. Now, now, Noah's innocent dismissal felt like another layer of the betrayal. Had they manipulated him too? Check Leo's garage. The words from the email screamed in my head. I had to know. Before Noah stood at that altar. Before he unknowingly married a woman who was intimately involved with his own sister's husband. But how? The garage key. Did I have one? My mind raced. Then I remembered. Years ago, when he first rented the unit, Leo had given me a spare key for emergencies, tossing it into the old carved wooden keepsake box where we kept random mementos, concert tickets, foreign coins, old letters. I hadn't thought about it since. My hands trembled as I rummaged through the box in the back of our hall closet, pushing aside dried corsages and faded postcards. There it was. A small, ordinary brass key, suddenly feeling heavy, dangerous like the key to Pandora's box. Should I do this? Should I violate Leo's privacy? Betray the trust I thought we had, based on an anonymous email and a blurry photo? What if it was nothing? What if I went there, found nothing, and had to live with the knowledge that I doubted him so deeply? The risk of being wrong felt almost as terrifying as the possibility of being right. But then I thought of Noah, his trusting eyes, his radiant happiness about marrying Sophia. If there was even a chance this email was true, I couldn't let him walk down that aisle blindfolded. I had to know. Mom, I called out, trying to sound casual as I slipped the key into my pocket. I forgot something back at our place. Need to grab it quickly before we leave for the venue. I'll meet you guys there. Oh, all right, dear, Mom replied distractedly from the kitchen. Don't be late. The ceremony starts promptly at 3. I slipped out of the apartment, my heart pounding against my ribs like a trapped bird. The drive to Elm Street felt like moving through thick syrup. Every red light an agony, every passing minute tightening the knot of dread in my chest. The block of identical steel garage unit doors looked menacing in the bright midday sun. Unit 12B, Leo's unit. I parked across the street, hands slick on the steering wheel. Taking deep, shaky breaths, I got out, crossed the empty asphalt lot, the silence broken only by the frantic thumping of my own heart. I fumbled with the key, my fingers clumsy, finally sliding it into the padlock. It turned with a small metallic click that echoed like a gunshot in the quiet. I hesitated for a second, then pulled the heavy, corrugated door upwards with a groan of protesting metal. It was dark inside, smelling of dust, old tires, and something vaguely chemical. I fumbled for my phone, switching on the flashlight, the beam cutting through the gloom. The beam from my phone's flashlight cut through the dusty air inside Leo's storage unit. It smelled stale, like forgotten things. Old rubber, oil, damp cardboard. My initial sweep revealed exactly what I expected. His grandfather's old woodworking tools hanging neatly on pegboard walls, stacks of boxes labeled winter clothes or camping gear, the hulking shape of his unused kayak leaning against the far wall. Nothing immediately screamed affair or betrayal. A wave of relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me dizzy. It was just a prank. A cruel, sick joke sent by someone trying to stir up trouble on Noah's wedding day. Maybe an old disgruntled colleague of Leo's. Maybe even a jealous ex of Sophia's. I let out a shaky breath, the tension easing slightly from my shoulders. I should just leave, lock up, go back to the apartment, and try to forget this ever happened. I turned towards the door, ready to escape the claustrophobic space, when my flashlight beam caught something tucked away behind the kayak, almost deliberately obscured. It wasn't another dusty cardboard moving box. This one was newer. A large, sturdy plastic storage container with locking handles, the kind you buy when you want to keep things secure, protected. It looked out of place amongst the general clutter. My project manager's brain, always scanning for inconsistencies, flagged it immediately. Why hide that specific container? What was inside that needed protecting more than old camping gear? The dread returned, colder this time. My feet moved before my rational mind could object. I squeezed past the kayak, knelt down, and ran my fingers over the smooth plastic lid. It wasn't locked. With trembling hands, I lifted the latches and slowly raised the lid. It wasn't filled with hobby gear. My breath hitched. The first thing I saw were documents, neatly organized in folders. Not Leo's usual messy filing system. This was meticulous. I picked up the top folder, labeled simply S Personal Finances. Inside, copies of bank statements for an account I didn't recognize, showing regular, substantial deposits, thousands of dollars each month, transferred directly from Leo's personal savings account. The one we supposedly shared, the one I rarely checked because I trusted him implicitly. There were receipts tucked in pockets, a down payment receipt for a sleek new convertible, a car I knew Noah couldn't possibly afford for Sophia, invoices from high-end designer boutiques on Michigan Avenue, charges for luxury spa weekends. Leo was funding Sophia's expensive tastes, lavishly, secretly. My stomach churned. This went far beyond infidelity. This was financial deception on a grand scale. But it got worse. Another folder labeled Our Future contained printouts. Flight itineraries for two passengers booked under initials LR and SM, close enough to their names, likely chosen for plausible deniability if discovered. Flying one way to Buenos Aires, departing 3 days after Noah and Sophia's scheduled wedding date. Beneath the flights, printouts of lease applications and email correspondence regarding luxury furnished apartments in Palermo, Buenos Aires. Not just an affair, but a detailed plan to flee, to start a new life together, funded by Leo, presumably after Sophia secured the stability and social standing of marrying Noah. There were even handwritten notes tucked between the pages, sickeningly intimate. Leo, darling, just a few more days and we'll be free. This wedding is a necessary evil, you know that. Noah is sweet, but he's not us. Soon it will be just you and me under the Argentinian sun, forever. S. Another, in Leo's familiar scrawl. Can't wait to leave all this behind, Soph. Counting the minutes. Bought your ticket today. Pack light. We won't need anything from this life. Nausea rose in my throat. I stumbled back, leaning against the cold metal wall of the storage unit for support. The betrayal wasn't just physical. It was a cold, calculated, long-term conspiracy. They weren't just cheating. They were using my brother, planning to discard him and me like inconvenient baggage once Sophia had the security of the marriage certificate. Leo wasn't just unfaithful. He was actively financing and planning the destruction of two families, including his own. The image of Noah's happy, trusting face flashed before my eyes. The image of Leo kissing me goodbye that morning, his eyes empty. The image of Sophia at her bridal shower last week, gushing about her love for Noah. Lies. All of it. Rage came next, hot and blinding. I wanted to scream, to smash everything in this cursed garage. But then, another instinct took over, colder and more methodical. The project manager rising through the emotional wreckage. I needed proof, irrefutable proof. With hands that felt strangely steady despite the earthquake inside me, I carefully removed the documents, the receipts, the itineraries, the notes. I laid them out flat on the dusty hood of Leo's old, forgotten Lincoln stored in the unit. I took out my phone and, forcing myself to breathe evenly, began taking pictures. Clear, focused, overlapping shots of everything. Dates, account numbers, names, destinations, incriminating sentences. I documented it all, creating a digital dossier of their deceit. Evidence. Undeniable. Once finished, I meticulously placed every single piece of paper back into the folders, back into the plastic container, exactly as I had found it. I slid the container back behind the kayak, repositioning the dust cover slightly askew, just as it had been. I used the hem of my dress sleeve to wipe down the lid, the latches, the padlock, the door handle, anywhere I might have touched. Leave no trace. Leo couldn't know I'd been here. He couldn't have a chance to destroy this evidence. I locked the padlock, the click echoing again, this time sounding like the closing of a chapter. I slid the heavy door shut, the finality of it settling in my gut. Stepping back out into the bright Chicago daylight felt like emerging into a different reality. The sky seemed too blue, the sounds of the city too normal. My own life, the one I thought was so stable and secure just an hour ago, had been revealed as a hollow facade. Walking back to my car, my mind wasn't racing anymore. It was laser focused. Confronting Leo or Sophia now would be pointless, maybe even dangerous. They would lie, deny, gaslight. My only priority, my absolute priority, was Noah. He could not marry that woman. He could not walk into that life built on lies. I had to tell him. Now, before the vows, before the rings, before the I do's sealed his fate. The potential public embarrassment, the family fallout, none of it mattered compared to stopping this catastrophe. I slid into the driver's seat, my knuckles white on the steering wheel. I took 3 deep, deliberate breaths, trying to calm the tremor in my hands, trying to steady my voice. Then I dialed Noah's number. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Please pick up, Noah, please. Liv? His voice sounded happy, breathless, probably surrounded by groomsmen fussing with ties. What's up? You okay? You should be heading to the venue soon. Noah, I said, forcing my voice to sound calm, urgent, but not panicked. Listen to me very carefully. I need to see you, right now, alone. Alone? Now? Liv, what are you talking about? The ceremony starts in like 90 minutes. Is something wrong? Yes, I said, keeping my voice low but intense. Something is very wrong. It's about Sophia. It can't wait, Noah. Please, meet me near the back service entrance of the venue as soon as you can slip away. There was a pause. I could hear the background noise fade slightly as he likely moved somewhere quieter. About Sophia? He repeated, confusion tinged with dawning worry in his voice, probably remembering my hesitant warning from weeks ago. Liv, what is this? I can't explain over the phone. Just please, Noah, trust me on this. Meet me. 15 minutes? Another pause, longer this time. Then a quiet sigh. Okay, he said finally, his voice tight. Okay, Liv. Back entrance, 15 minutes. He hung up. I started the car, the engine humming, unnervingly loud in the sudden silence. My hands were steady on the wheel now. The photos, the proof, were secure on my phone. The clock was ticking. I drove towards the wedding venue, towards my brother, carrying the ugly truth that was about to shatter his world, but hoping, praying, it would ultimately save him. I found Noah pacing nervously near the designated service entrance at the back of the grand wedding venue, hidden from the main flow of arriving guests. He looked impossibly young and handsome in his tuxedo, but his eyes were shadowed with anxiety, darting towards the main building every few seconds. Liv! He breathed when he saw me hurrying across the manicured lawn. What is it? What's so urgent it couldn't wait? Sophia's getting her makeup touched up. The ceremony starts in less than an hour. Noah, I said quietly, pulling him further into the shade of a large oak tree, away from any potential eavesdroppers. I didn't want to believe it either. Remember when I mentioned feeling uneasy about Leo and Sophia a few weeks ago? And you told me I was imagining things? He frowned, impatient. Yeah? Liv, seriously, what is this about? My hands trembled as I unlocked my phone, my heart aching for the pain I was about to inflict. I got an anonymous email this morning, Noah, with a photo and a suggestion to check Leo's storage garage. I took a deep breath. So I did. I turned the phone screen towards him, showing him the first photo I took inside the garage. The neatly stacked folders, the receipts for designer jewelry and weekend getaways booked under Leo's name, the bank statement printouts showing thousands transferred to an account likely belonging to Sophia. Noah stared at the screen, his brow furrowed in confusion. What? What is this? Leo's finances? Why would Sophia? Keep looking, I whispered, swiping to the next photo. The printed flight itineraries for to Buenos Aires, departing 3 days from now under the initials LR and SM, then the next, the lease application for a luxury apartment there, and finally, the notes. Leo's handwriting promising Sophia a life away from all this provincial nonsense once the wedding secured her stability. Sophia's replies, thanking Leo for funding her pre wedding escape fund, and assuring him Noah would never suspect that he was a sweet but ultimately just a stepping stone. I watched Noah's face as he scrolled through the images, saw his confusion slowly morph into dawning horror, then sickening comprehension. The color drained from his cheeks. He swayed slightly, leaning against the tree trunk for support. He remembered my earlier warning now. He remembered the little inconsistencies he had likely dismissed. He looked up at me, his eyes just moments ago bright with pre-wedding excitement, now filled with a devastating, heartbroken clarity. Liv, he whispered, his voice cracking. All this time, they were... Yes, I confirmed softly, my own voice thick with shared pain. I'm so sorry, Noah. So incredibly sorry you had to find out like this, but I couldn't let you walk down that aisle. I couldn't let her do that to you. He didn't cry, not then. Instead, a chilling calm settled over his features, replacing the shock. He straightened up, his jaw set. Thank you for telling me, Liv, he said, his voice low but firm. Thank you for checking, for not letting me be a fool. He handed the phone back to me. I know what I have to do. We didn't need to discuss it further. We walked together in grim silence, back towards the main entrance where guests were starting to gather, their cheerful chatter a jarring counterpoint to the devastation we carried. Noah peeled off towards the staging area where the bridal party was assembling, his steps deliberate, his expression unreadable now. I found a discreet spot near the back, pretending to admire the floral arrangements, my heart pounding a heavy rhythm against my ribs, waiting for the inevitable explosion. It happened just as the string quartet began playing the processional music. Noah stepped forward, not towards the altar, but intercepting Sophia as she prepared to walk down the aisle on her father's arm. I couldn't hear their exact words from my vantage point, but I saw Noah speak quietly, intensely, perhaps showing her one damning photo on his own phone. I saw Sophia's radiant smile freeze, then crumble into disbelief, then panic. I saw her try to argue, to plead, her voice rising slightly. I saw Noah shake his head firmly, his expression resolute. Then he turned away from her, walked quickly over to our bewildered parents and the equally confused officiant, spoke a few brief, decisive words, and then simply walked back towards the side entrance, motioning for me to follow. Chaos erupted behind us, confused whispers turning into loud murmurs. Sophia bursting into tears, her father looking furious. My own parents rushing towards Sophia, demanding answers. Guests looking around, bewildered. But Noah didn't look back. He walked straight out the door, head held high, and I followed him into the sudden quiet of the empty corridor. Before we could even process what had just happened, Leo appeared, striding towards us, his face thunderous. He must have seen the commotion from inside. Olivia? Noah? What the hell just happened? He demanded, his voice sharp with anger, clearly assuming we were somehow at fault. Sophia is a mess. You canceled the wedding? Noah stepped in front of me, facing Leo directly, his newfound resolve unwavering despite his youth. Yes, Leo. I did, Noah said calmly. Because I found out about you and Sophia, about the trips, the money, the plan to run away after she married me. Leo froze, his face paling. What? Who told you? His eyes darted towards me, accusation flaring. Olivia, you did this. You couldn't stand seeing Noah happy, so you made up lies to ruin everything. It wasn't lies, Leo, I said quietly, stepping forward, meeting his furious gaze without flinching. It was the truth. The truth you hid in your storage unit on Elm Street. The photos, the notes, the plane tickets to Buenos Aires. Noah saw them. I saw them. His face crumpled then, denial replaced by cornered desperation. Liv, listen, it wasn't serious. Sophia and I, it was just a mistake, a stupid fling. A fling that involved draining our joint savings account and planning to abandon your wife and brother? I asked, my voice dangerously soft. That's quite a mistake, Leo. I took a deep breath. We're done. This marriage, it died long before today. You just finally hammered the nails in the coffin. He stared at me, speechless for once, perhaps finally realizing the depth of the wreckage he had created. Come on, Liv, Noah said quietly, taking my arm. Let's go. We walked away together, leaving Leo standing alone in the corridor amidst the distant sounds of the wedding imploding. Leaving behind the lies, the betrayal, the carefully constructed life that had turned out to be a cage. The aftermath was messy, as expected. Divorces always are, especially when fueled by such profound betrayal. Leo didn't contest much. The evidence was overwhelming, his own guilt perhaps finally penetrating his arrogance. We sold the condo, split the assets according to Illinois law. It was clean, clinical, devoid of the emotional drama that had characterized our marriage. Noah and I leaned on each other heavily during that time, our sibling bond forged stronger than ever in the crucible of shared pain and survival. Our parents, caught between their shattered image of Sophia and the undeniable truth, mostly retreated into confused silence, offering neither apology nor condemnation, simply distance, which was perhaps the best outcome I could have hoped for from them. Weeks later, long after the dust had settled, I received a phone call from an unknown number. It was Ethan, Leo's former colleague, the anonymous sender of the email that started it all. He apologized for the cryptic method, but explained his motive. Sophia had ruthlessly manipulated and professionally damaged him during a project they worked on together years ago. When he overheard fragments of conversations at the office hinting at her involvement with Leo and the upcoming wedding to Noah, he felt a moral obligation to warn someone somehow before she could cause more damage. I didn't know if you'd believe me, he admitted, but I couldn't stand by and watch her do it again. I thanked him, profoundly grateful for his unexpected, courageous intervention. Knowing the why behind that anonymous email brought a final, quiet sense of closure. Life rebuilt itself, slowly, differently. I poured my energy into my work, finding satisfaction in the clean logic and tangible results of project management. Noah started college, pursuing his passion for photography, his eye for capturing truth sharpened, perhaps by his brush with deceit. We saw each other often, our bond now the truest definition of family I knew. One crisp autumn afternoon, walking along the Chicago lakefront, the wind whipping off the water, Noah turned to me. Do you ever forgive him? Leo, I thought about it for a long moment, watching the waves crash against the shore. I don't know if forgive is the right word, Noah, I said honestly. Maybe release is better. I released the anger, the hurt, the need for answers. Not for him. For me. I smiled at my brother, my true family. I chose peace. And honestly, it feels pretty damn good.